The Adventureland Treehouse is a gargantuan structure wrapped in staircases and bound with ropes and populated with various rooms and structures. In September of 2021, I released a history video about Tarzan's treehouse at Disneyland and predicted that it was unlikely that Disney would ever return the tree back to its original theme. Then, just 2 days later, Disneyland closed Tarzan's treehouse and returned the tree back to its original theme. So here we are again. Let's retell the history of this beloved tree. A tree of an imagined species named lovingly the Disneyodendron semperflorens grandis, which translates to large, ever-blooming Disney tree. The sands of time climb up the hourglass as we travel into the distant world of Disneyland in 1962. It was said that Walt Disney was walking through Adventureland one day and felt that what was missing was a giant treehouse. He had always wanted one, and now he had the chance to construct one in the grand style of his recent feature film. Construction began to reroute a portion of the Jungle Cruise in order to make room for the new attraction. Walt Disney had assigned Imagineer Bill Martin to design the structure similar to the 1960 live-action feature film Swiss Family Robinson, based on the 1812 book by the same name by author Johann David Wyss. To ensure the treehouse was as movie accurate as possible, Disney animator Wolfgang Reitherman, who designed the treehouse in the movie, was brought in to help supervise the construction. The treehouse would have a massive steel-reinforced concrete trunk that was buried 40 feet into the sandy Anaheim soil to anchor the tree against earthquakes. The grand, sprawling limbs of the structure were made of steel piping, the kind often used to construct oil rigs and other such equipment. And these steel limbs would give the tree its 70-foot height and 80-foot width. The completed tree would weigh an estimated 150 tons. The tree was designed to look like an overgrown fig tree and would occupy the space formerly taken by a canal that connected the waterways of Rivers of America with the Jungle Cruise. This canal was vital to the park's waterways. It was part of a system of streams and canals that kept all the bodies of water connected so as to prevent stagnation and allow wildlife to move from one area to the next. Now you may notice that if you walk through Adventureland today, there is no canal connecting Rivers of America with Jungle Cruise, or at least none that you can see. Actually, back when the treehouse was being constructed, Imagineers had to reduce the canal to a large underground pipe that snakes its way around the treehouse, weaving around Riverbell Terrace and out to the big river. The treehouse had a small bridge that led over the rushing stream that powered the water wheel. From there, you climbed a staircase to the top of the treehouse. The water wheel I mentioned was a really neat feature of this attraction, and just like in the movie, it delivered the water to the top of the treehouse, and the wheel itself drove water-powered features, such as a system of bamboo ceiling fans, all interconnected with bands of flat belts. And of course, the water itself flowed from small bamboo troughs at the top of the house in order to supply the Robinson family. The different huts and rooms were each furnished with props like the ones in the movie. Some of these props actually were from the movie, such as the pipe organ, which you can hear from all points of the treehouse playing the Swiss polka. And there was even the ship's helm from the movie. The treehouse offered wonderful views of the park, especially since at the time it was one of the tallest structures in Disneyland. The Swiss Family Treehouse opened at Disneyland on November 18, 1962, and its grand opening event was attended by actor John Mills, who played the father in the movie. Walt Disney himself used to love to come out and climb the treehouse when he had time. As a child, he had always dreamed of having one. And now, well, he owned the largest and, dare I say, coolest treehouse in the world. Park guests could often catch Walt climbing the stairs, his eyes gleaming with joy and a big grin across his face. And the kiddies loved it. After all, who wouldn't want to climb such an awesome treehouse with Walt Disney himself? The Swiss Family Treehouse enjoyed about 3 decades of popularity, but as the years stretched on through the 1990s, the attraction faced its demise. You see, that decade was awful for Disneyland, because the company had spent a lot of money in the previous years opening the failed Disney's MGM Studios park in Florida, and the expensive flop that was Euro Disneyland in France. Not to mention that big-ticket items like the new Fantasmic Nighttime Spectacular, the Indiana Jones Adventure, and the 1997 new Tomorrowland had emptied the company's wallet. As a result, Disneyland's operations and maintenance budgets were cut back. Rides like the People Mover, the Skyway, and the Submarine Voyage were all permanently closed. Imagineer Tony Baxter had seen the cutbacks severely affect Walt's park, and he made attempts to keep the shuttered attractions, but sometimes without success. When he caught wind that the Swiss Family Treehouse was next on the chopping block, he managed to convince the company to allow him to re-theme the attraction to something more modern. He knew the new animated movie Tarzan was on its way, and he argued that a simple re-theme of the treehouse could help promote it. His project was given the green light. Original props from the Swiss Family Robinson movie were salvaged, some of them being auctioned off, such as the pipe organ. Other props, such as the bell, the helm, and the stone cobble stove, remained during the re-theme. Some of the old bamboo water buckets were also kept and turned into plant pots. Phil Collins, who had created the music for the movie, was asked to compose music specifically for the treehouse. Then, Imagineer Bruce Gordon stitched the music tracks into seamless loops that always play in their designated areas. While the main path weaving through the branches of the tree was left largely untouched, they did have to reverse the direction in which the guests walk through the attraction. To make the tree appear taller like it does in the movie, Imagineers increased the height of the topmost branches by 10 feet. However, the highest part of the treehouse that guests can reach is still 68 steps in the air, as it has always been. The original tree had over 1,000 branches, sporting around 300,000 handmade red vinyl leaves, at a total price tag of $254,900. In 1998, that was cut down to only 450 branches, with 6,000 green vinyl leaves, which were mass-produced from one mold. However, in defense of this move to heavily prune the tree, I must say that it was done to make the tree lighter and more resilient to high winds, since it has less wind drag. The attraction took slightly longer to navigate through thanks to the large tree stump, staircase, and rope bridge constructed in the middle of the Adventureland walkway. This addition was necessary in order to make the treehouse more movie accurate. The rope bridge is supported independently from the 1962 structure in a way most genius. If you look carefully at the side connected to the original treehouse, large ship masts cut down to size are buried at the foot of the tree and support the bridge. When you climbed up and down the stairs of the tree, you saw the events of Tarzan's life unfold as it did in the hit movie, such as the leopard attack when Tarzan was an infant, and the first time baby Tarzan met his new mother, Kala. And it even progressed into the events of when Tarzan met Jane, though the darker events of the story were left out of the treehouse. Nevertheless, the whole attraction was put to the thrilling music of the movie, and when you reached the bottom, you saw the camp which Jane and her father had set up. You could even see that Jane had brought her gramophone, and it plays a familiar tune, the Swiss polka. Here in the camp, you could go ape crazy by playing the rain sticks, hammering the xylophone, or even catching up on botany samples collected from the jungle. And in the early years, you could meet Tarzan and Jane. Down at ground level, you could also see that though the old water wheel was long gone, the rushing stream that powered it was still alive and well. This stream was a separate water feature from the Jungle Cruise and was kept sterile with chlorine, not bromine. Tarzan's Treehouse opened on June 23, 1999, and enjoyed a decent success in the first few years thanks to its connection with the movie. However, its popularity waned over the course of 2 decades, and the plants that once complemented the treehouse then overgrew and consumed it into the jungle. At times, it seemed it was an attraction entirely forgotten. In September of 2021, the attraction closed indefinitely, and rumor began to swirl that the treehouse was to be demolished. But it wasn't long after when Disney released concept art of a return to original form, or mostly original. Disney later announced the re-theme to the Adventureland Treehouse, a nod of sorts to the Swiss Family Treehouse, except that the new theme did not directly correlate to that story, and instead, the attraction would expand upon the recurring Disney Parks and Resorts background theme of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, or SEA for short. Instead of the story taking place in the 1800s, it now takes place in the year 1938, correlating well with the approximate timeline of the nearby Adventureland attractions. The Adventureland Treehouse opened to visitors in November of 2023, after 2 years of extensive refurbishment, which included adding new hidden support structures to strengthen the limbs of the tree against potentially large earthquakes. The original tree structure has obviously withstood countless earthquakes over the years without any issue, but any structure can be fatigued with time, hence the redundant safety supports. The tree stump and rope bridge from the Tarzan movie was promptly demolished, and the walkway from Adventureland to New Orleans Square was opened up a little wider to permit better crowd flow. The 2 masts against the treehouse that supported the rope bridge remained standing and were repurposed as part of the new stairway structure. The crow's nest from the secondary tree was actually saved and moved to the top of one of the ship mast supports. The rushing creek that once powered the mighty Swiss Family water wheel was once again put to use, powering a new water wheel. Although it doesn't directly power the water bucket conveyor, it is made to look as though it does. The flow of traffic up the treehouse was reversed once again back to its original direction of flow. Guests no longer needed to climb up to the very top to begin the tour. The tour was once again part of the gradual climb upward. Jane and the professor's camp was converted into a common area for the treehouse family, where their kitchen and some of their inventions were put to use. You even pass by the holding pen of their pet ostrich, Jane. Yes, same name as Tarzan's love interest. You can see more of the family's ingenuity with the automatic turning lathe and pottery wheel. You then begin the climb upward to the first room in the tree, Mother's music room. Here you can see that the family built an automatic orchestrion featuring a pipe organ, a violin, and 2 tambourines, and it's all powered by the falling water delivered to the top of the treehouse. The orchestrion plays a familiar tune, the Swiss Polka, a callback to the history of this beloved attraction, and indeed, the music can be heard all over the treehouse, just as it once did during Walt's era. Guests then climb further up to Daughter's room, which she has made into an observatory where she can admire the stars and other celestial bodies beyond our world. She has created a few orreries to understand the movement of our solar system. Afterwards, guests climb up to the highest point on the treehouse, the room belonging to the twins. They are enthusiasts of zoology and have acquired quite a collection of insects, birds, amphibians, and even a monkey. This is one of the more favorited spots in the treehouse, as the twins' room has many moving animations. Look carefully and you'll see the frog leaping from one side of his enclosure to the other. After this, you begin the long descent, 68 steps down to ground level. From this height, you can see the top of the water distribution system. The buckets pour real water into the system. Though it's designed to make you believe that the water flows through several bamboo pipes around the treehouse, in actuality, the water flows straight down a single bamboo pipe back to the rushing creek below. Though the Swiss Family Robinson relied on their treehouse as an interim home, the current occupants are not lost on a jungle island. Rather, the treehouse serves as a research outpost. That's the main difference between the 2 storylines. As for the original props of the movie that remained through the Tarzan retheme, most were removed during the 2023 retheme. The only thing left behind was the stone cobble stove, while the bell and ship's helm went to the Disney archives. With the retheme approaching 2 years of age, it's mostly doing quite well. The only recurring issue is the broken water bucket conveyor, which is rarely functioning. The new Adventureland Treehouse is frequently visited by adults and children alike, mostly because it's a giant treehouse. It's not designed to be an overwhelmingly popular attraction, but it helps to occupy one's time during periods of high traffic around the park. When you're in between standing in long queues, you can take a moment to stretch your legs and climb ever upward on a journey of discovery. With the incredible detail and love put into this retheme, we can continue to appreciate this marvel of engineering, brought about by one man's boyhood desire to have a treehouse.